So, there's been a bombshell series of document releases recently that has frankly shaken the world. And while a lot of the headlines have been focused on politicians and Wall Street types, if you dig into the unredacted files, they point a massive spotlight right at the heart of our modern world, Silicon Valley. Let's get into how a convicted predator managed to capture its absolute elite. What these documents really lay bare is a story of systematic infiltration. And it brings up the one central question that we're going to explore here. How on earth did Jeffrey Epstein, a known sex offender, not only get a foot in the door, but become deeply embedded within the most powerful and exclusive networks in all of technology? You know, it's almost impossible to wrap your head around the sheer scale of this information. We are talking about millions upon millions of pages of documents, emails, and financial records, all released by court order. For anyone trying to parse this, it was nothing short of a data tsunami.
But that tsunami of information actually revealed something else, a really critical flaw in the release process itself. So let's take a look at the mechanics of this document dump and, more importantly, its devastating consequences for the privacy of the victims.
You have to understand, the Department of Justice was facing a completely impossible task. They had potentially millions of pages to review, all under these super tight deadlines. The sheer volume of data was just overwhelming for the teams assigned, and that led to a massive failure in the redaction process.
And that failure, it was absolutely catastrophic. In the rush to get everything published, the DOJ accidentally released unredacted names, photos, and personal details of dozens of victims, some of whom were minors. This quote from the victim attorneys really just captures the profound human cost of what was, at its core, an administrative disaster.
Okay, so even though the release process was total chaos, the documents themselves made one thing crystal clear. Epstein had a playbook. After his 2008 conviction made him a total pariah in the world of traditional finance, he just pivoted. He targeted the new center of global power, Silicon Valley.
And his main strategy was this thing called reputation laundering. It's basically the art of using money, access to brilliant people, and the shiny veneer of philanthropy to wash away the stain of a criminal record. And the tech world, which has always cared more about disruption than tradition, well, that was fertile ground. And make no mistake, these were not just random encounters. At these super exclusive billionaires' dinners, Epstein was a reoccurring guest right alongside the biggest names in tech. But here's the crucial part. While the titans were being celebrated publicly, documents show Epstein's name was often quietly scrubbed from the official summaries. That's a huge sign that his presence was a known liability.
Right, so the files don't just tell us a story with anecdotes, they provide cold, hard data. So let's actually look at which technology executives show up most frequently in Epstein's network, according to the documents themselves.
I mean, look at these numbers. They are absolutely staggering. LinkedIn's Reid Hoffman with over 2,600 mentions, Bill Gates with over 2,500, Peter Thiel and Elon Musk are also mentioned well over 1,000 times each. And we're not talking about passing references here. This indicates deep, sustained contact.
The Bill Gates connection, as it's revealed in the documents, is, well, it's particularly complex. It includes this bizarre draft of an extortion email sent to Gates about an alleged affair with a Russian bridge player. The letter seems clearly designed to threaten Gates, which suggests a pretty clear attempt at blackmail.
Now, for their part, Gates's team has vehemently denied these claims. A spokesperson stated the allegations are, quote, completely false and called the email proof of Epstein's own frustration after he failed to leverage a relationship with Gates for his own financial gain. Then you have Elon Musk. Right after the files were released, he went straight to his own platform, X, to publicly distance himself. He stated very clearly that he had declined repeated invitations to go to Epstein's private island and to fly on his plane.
But the files themselves contain direct evidence that seems to pretty sharply contradict that statement. This is an email from Musk to Epstein back in 2012 after being invited to his island, asking specifically, what day/night will be the wildest party on your island? The contrast between the public statement and the private email is, well, it's stark.
And you have to understand this wasn't just about a few isolated individuals. Figures like Reid Hoffman and Peter Thiel were acting as key network nodes. They didn't just associate with Epstein themselves, they hosted events that gave him direct access to the next generation of tech leaders, including Mark Zuckerberg.
What's also kind of wild is how incredibly forward-looking Epstein's strategy was. Just as the scrutiny on his traditional banking was getting tighter, he was already pivoting to the new, unregulated frontiers of cryptocurrency and cybersecurity, and not just as an investor, but as an active operator.
The files show he was an incredibly early mover in crypto. We're talking about a $3 million investment in Coinbase way back in 2014. He was funding prominent developers, and he even designed these bespoke investment vehicles specifically to hide where his money was coming from.
And he wasn't just investing in tech, he was weaponizing it. His documented ties to elite hackers actually led the prestigious DEF CON cybersecurity convention to permanently ban 3 prominent figures from all its events. One expert even quoted Epstein a price, $25,000, to digitally scrub his 2008 conviction from the internet entirely. So all of this brings us to the aftermath. The global response to these revelations has been massively asymmetric. It highlights a huge difference between the kind of accountability we've seen in Europe versus the strategic, deafening silence in Silicon Valley.
I mean, the contrast is just night and day. In Europe, these files led to arrests, formal charges, and high-level resignations. But in Silicon Valley, the response has been coordinated silence, aggressive PR campaigns, and a complete and total lack of accountability from corporate boards. Founder CEOs remain firmly in power.
And so, what these documents really leave us with is a deeply unsettling question. They provide a definitive map of how extreme wealth and network effects can just bypass all the safeguards that are meant to isolate predators. And they force us to ask, when elite networks are this thoroughly compromised, who exactly is left to hold power to account?